Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, this is the Yukitsu Times. Welcome to my channel, welcome to a little bit of Surviving Mars. Continuing along with my way too in-depth guide here. So let's talk a little bit about factories, and this is going to be the next thing that we're going to be working towards. Basically, we're reaching that point in time where our ability to sustain ourselves by importing goods is reducing. And you can sort of get yourself into the situation where you've been buying stuff, and exporting rare metals or whatever, but the rate at which you're consuming your resources is such that you're spending money faster than you can realistically bring stuff back to Mars. And also what happens is resources run out. You run out of rare metals, then you're stuck. You end up having a situation where you can't really do much. So what you have to do is build factories. And there's three factories that we're going to sort of focus on here. First is the polymer factory. The polymer factory is interesting in that it consumes water and fuel, which basically means it's producing requiring 2 units of water to produce this building, because you need to have one fuel refinery, which you're probably going to already have anyway, consuming water, but you also have to have a unit of water for the polymer factory itself. It's cheap to build and doesn't require too many employees, and it's also interesting that it's an outbuilding. You can build it outside of your dome. In fact, you can only build it outside of your dome. And this makes it kind of interesting in the sense that in previous installments of the game, the previous patch of the game, this would make it by far the first factory that you would ever produce. Now, you wouldn't necessarily have the technology as we do to produce this through just standard production. You might find that you can't get the tech by the time you need it, and instead you've got a situation where you have to buy one, and that's perfectly fine. Same applies for the other factories. I don't always I don't always build these factories. Sometimes, in fact, quite often, I just buy them using money, and that works perfectly fine. So it doesn't matter too much if you've got the techs for these or not. You'll get them eventually. They're important to have once you start needing huge amounts of these, but for the meantime, you don't really need it that badly. But what we do need is to have another dome, and we don't necessarily need to have that as badly as we did before, and we don't need to think about it being as high priority as it used to be. Essentially, what it used to be was you'd have to have your dome here doing its own thing, and then you'd have to have another dome for the factories, but the factories took up so much space that you couldn't then have like a lot of the amenities and stuff like that that you would want in the dome to be in there. So you'd sort of end up with like either a medium dome with these, or you'd end up with 3 domes, and it just was really awkward. But now that we can have multiple domes sort of connected together, we don't have to worry about that as much. I'm going to go ahead and start putzing around with this because I need to actually get decommission protocol really quite quickly. So let's get that in that probable order. Anyway, so basically each of these is the size of one of these apartment buildings. It takes up an entire wedge in your dome. The polymer factory is the first one that you'll ever build simply because it's not required for it to be in your dome. I can just build it out over here, which means that even if I've only got a small dome with a relatively low population, I can still benefit from and build a polymer factory. Now, there's a bunch of different tricky things about building domes and getting your factories running as a result of it. First of all, these things take up a lot of space, so you are going to need the real estate to do it. For another, they're actually fairly slow to produce whatever it is they make. The polymer factory, the electronics factory, and the machine parts factory don't produce their respective products very, very quickly. So you are going to need to have quite a lot of people in them to make them productive. I think you get something like 0.25 of a polymer for one person who's not properly trained, and if you have got someone properly trained, it's like barely better than that. But actually, I think it's 0.5. But regardless, you need a humongous number of people working in these, often with specializations that you get from the Martian-born Academy. So you end up with a situation where you also need to bring in way more people. In fact, I'm going to have to be sending in a bunch of passenger rockets just to fill in the spots for those jobs, and they're not going to be the correct sort of people. That's pretty crappy. Anyway, so in any event, though, even though we don't need the secondary dome as badly as we used to, we are going to have to build a second dome here, just because I can only really fit in one factory, and realistically speaking, I still don't want to. We're going to build our dome looking like that. We want a little bit of a... Actually, no, let's build it a bit further away here. How far away can I build it, actually? I just want to have some room so that I can fit a proper ramp here. So we'll put that there. One of the things I'm going to have to do is get rid of this playground just so I've got room for a bridge between these, because you take up a tile there and then I can sort of delete the fountain and then rebuild the playground. I just need to get decommission protocol, and that's why I needed to get that. I didn't quite do this properly, but I never do. You know, it's just fine. All right, so in any event though, talking about factories. Right, so more things to know about these is that the polymer factory, like I said, consumes water and fuel. Easy enough, you can just basically get those for free. The electronics factory is kind of expensive. It requires rare metals. So you are going to have to extract those, or you're going to have to buy them from Earth, because it is slightly cheaper to buy the rare metals and then have them be produced into machine parts or electronic parts. But honestly speaking, it's still not really worth it. I'm not even sure if you're allowed to export rare metals. Like I don't know that you can actually. The machine parts factory, metals, you know, just regular metal into machine parts. This one's actually pretty easy to get access to. You don't have to worry too much about that one. But the electronics factory is the one that's going to be sort of a difficulty until you can get a mohole mine, which is a sort of wonder-like building. You can only build one, but it produces an unlimited amount of metal and rare metals, just as a small amount per day. Pretty good building that you're going to want to get as soon as you're able to. But in any event, how are we doing on our RC Explorer? Let's get him to come back home. Right, but yeah, so like strictly speaking, getting these factories is not the difficult part. We can start off the game basically with these factories. We can start off with our electronics factory and all that other stuff, basically just by buying them right off the bat there. The problem is that it's not useful to do that really. I'm going to start getting rid of some flaws here, or not caring about some flaws here. Let's get chronic condition on there. Yeah, we can do that and then send these guys over. We can also get rid of glutton. Hypochondriac's fine. So I think, yeah, we can do a launch with that. That's actually, let's go ahead and also hit our specializations up here. We don't need scientists right now, actually. We do need engineers really badly. Don't need officers. Do need geologists. Don't have access to them. Botanists, medics. That's all fine, actually. We don't need. Actually, sure. Let's bring scientists. We just won't prioritize them or botanists. Sure. Go ahead and launch that. Right, so like I'm saying, the big problem with these though is getting the people to work it and the infrastructure to work it. So like if we take a look at this dome over here, this is all required stuff for a dome basically. You can sort of skip out on the nursery to a certain degree there. You can skip out on the playground. You could skip out on research labs, although I would highly recommend getting research labs in like as many places as you can get them. But like you need some amenities, you need a house, you need like apartments, and this isn't actually perfectly true in our current incarnation here. It is possible to get domes where you have everyone focused in living in one dome and then working in another one. That's possible, that's perfectly acceptable, and that's fine. But the traditional way that you used to have to do it was you needed every dome to be completely self-sufficient, so that really hampered your ability to have proper factories. In this current incarnation, though, it's still pretty expensive to get that all up and running, because you'll still need at least one dome with all of these things in it, which does mean that you will have to have that second dome unless you've got medium domes really, really quickly somehow, or you're playing India. And since we didn't get access to medium dome technology, our second dome does have to be a small dome as well. And this works out fine in this particular version of the game. Like I said, it's different than it was in the previous one. Let's go ahead and send you out to here. Send that out to there afterwards, so try and get both of those. But in any event, yeah, what we're trying to do here is get a second dome so that we can put factories in it. So it does take a while before you can even get the infrastructure to have them meaningfully there. And once you've got the factories actually in place and you've got the factories sort of built up and everything, you need to have enough people to work in them, because similar to this rare metals extractor, you need a lot of people working in these places. It takes a ton of people to actually produce anything in these sort of institutions, or whatever you want to call them. Let's go ahead and build that to there.
Might be on the verge of a
I don't
new
care.
golden age. And
So essentially, every faction that you could potentially play has a mission goal. I don't think that I've ever seen them matter that much, other than for points and for like prestige of having accomplished it. For Europe, you have to get 100 technology, or you have to get 40 technologies or whatever. For like Russia, you have to export a whole bunch of metals back to Earth. For I think the religious people, you had to get a certain number of people born on Mars. I can't really remember what they all are.
We have an oxygen shortage. We have a water shortage.
Yeah, that's lovely. We're not going to be running utilities to this thing right now anyway, since I need to get some more moisture vaporators. Which reminds me, I should probably actually work on getting those.
Cable fault reported.
Let's go ahead and send this guy off here. Probably waited a little bit longer before I launched that, but that's okay. But yeah, so like that pops up and you just ignore it. You don't have to worry about it really at all there. All right, we got decommission protocol up and running. Good, perfect. Like I said, that's something I pretty badly need. Let's send you over to there and see if I can get back after that. But now that we've got decommission protocol, I can go ahead and get rid of this playground. Damn it. Despite the fact that there's a person playing on it. They're like, why are you tearing down the playground I was playing on? And it's just like, oh, it's life, kid. Learned a valuable lesson, I'm betting. Alright. So I'm going to probably have to build some replacement parks, but that's fine. Alright, so I also got back some of the, whatever it's called, so that's nice. But in any event, let's go ahead and get our passage done here. Let's build it to there. Let's build a passage ramp. Alright, I have to wait till the passage is done. But we can also go ahead and rebuild our park here, so our playground or whatever. So let's just go ahead and put that there. Gonna have to build some parks. So we'll build, I think this stone garden is what we'll put in here. I think we'll do it like this. They come out and then they immediately see the stone garden as soon as they get out of the tunnel there. Alright. So that all should be fine. The bridge isn't actually that important. The things can just go around through the this stuff here, so it's not really actually that important. In any event, though, let's go ahead and get our factory built. I can never remember which tab everything's in this game.
New
Anyway,
colonists have arrived.
build our polymer factory over there. Get ourselves a nice polymer storage. Like, even though we don't have to build the polymer factory first anymore, I do still think that it's a good idea to do so, generally speaking. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Advanced Martian engines we got done there. Great. Sterling engines are on the way. I would love to get... Ooh, micro-manufacturing. Electronics factory. Okay, so I can get that built instead of having to buy it. Just means we'll have to build the machine parts factory, potentially. Unless I can discover that too pretty quickly. Alright, we'll send you back here. And we'll continue getting metal with this guy. Sure, why not? So I'm assuming, like, right now we've got some unemployed people here. Yeah, there's 10 people who don't have jobs. We'll be filling in the polymer factory once that gets done pretty quickly, so I'm not too worried about that right yet. We'll also want to go ahead and get ourselves another apartment block, I suspect. There we go. Looks like our food is coming in nicely as well. Oh yeah, our food's doing pretty okay, I think. Because this is almost done, that's going to be a big boost to the amount of food in there. Ooh, 1,500 on that one. Alright. Got over 1,000, or we got over $1 billion in the bank there. Let's get this thing done. And, yeah, I don't know, actually.
Sector scanned.
Alright. Oh, there goes that. You do actually need quite a lot of space for these stupid ramps, but strictly speaking, they're not necessary.
Funding received.
Huh? What the? Oh, there we go. There we go. Alright. So let's go ahead and bring in another rocket. This one we want to go ahead and bring in probably 2 moisture vaporators. And at this point in time, we're going to actually buy ourselves a machine parts factory and an electronics factory potentially. Actually, no, we can research the electronics factory, so I don't need that one. So So we get those two. We get ourselves some more electronics. We get some more polymers. So we go ahead and do that and just launch that. And that'll sort of make sure that we've got enough resources, because we're getting a little bit shortish on some of them, which is pretty okay. We'll let this fill up just a little bit more before we go ahead and send that one. Alright, so...
Cable fault reported.
I'll go ahead and up-prioritize this for now. Do we want this building built, if at all possible? Looks like it's just the concrete that's far away, I'm guessing. Yeah, concrete source is like all the way kind of down here, so I can kind of understand that going... Like, I don't actually like the look of the stone garden all that much. You can see all these people like in here enjoying the stone garden, but it is literally just a collection of rocks. Which is weird, because like there's just rocks all over Mars. They've also got these kind of chairs that I don't particularly like. Oh well, whatever, it's fine. Alright, so now that that's done, let's just deprioritize that, because I don't need it to be top priority anymore, but we are going to go ahead and get 2 shifts worth of people working on polymers, and you can see this is quite a lot of people working on this job here to produce 4 polymers per day. That is not a humongous amount of stuff that we're getting out of these guys. So that's kind of my point on this stuff. It's not humongously productive per person. You are going to need quite a lot of factories, or you're going to need your factories to be running with quite a high level of efficiency by either making sure that you've got the right education for these people or any other sort of thing that could potentially help with that. I'm going to go ahead and actually get a Martian Institute here, just because I've got space for it. And we're going to cram in, I think... I'd like to get the electronics store, honestly, but it's a bad call right now. Alright. So I will want some people living in here at some point in time.
The colonists are on the brink of dehydration.
Oh my, okay, so one of our pipes is malfunctioning, was what's causing this whole debacle. Let's go ahead and get that shut off and that shut off, and that should fix the problem. Why are you... That's a fuel refinery, I don't really give a crap. Okay. So that should fix the problem in this dome, and it does, so I'm not really too worried about that. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and get our pipes extended down this way. I'm also going to have to get more electricity, so we're probably just going to go with the good old... For now, we'll continue getting, I think, the wind turbines, so let's go ahead and get a set of those. The factories take quite a lot of electricity, so it's a good idea to upgrade your electricity grid when you're switching over to them. Alright, and like that. So this will also give us a little bit of room to produce more of our moisture vaporators, to put down those moisture vaporators that we bought. Got that Stirling generator, like I said. Nothing really past that, that's too interesting. Let's also go ahead and research or check out whatever the hell is there. Good. Yeah, so I had to build a new park here, mostly because we actually destroyed one of the parks that was over here. Even though it's a small one, it still makes a difference. And since we're also increasing our population, it's a good idea to get more parks. You can see that this one's like, well, not popular right now, but it will be pretty popular overall, I'd imagine. So let's see, how are we doing overall here for resources? 20, 29, 28, and we're producing polymers, so that's all pretty okay.
We have a water shortage.
God damn it. Now what's happening? Alright, so let's land this guy. I don't need this thing to be on still. It is turned off. Okay, where are we losing water now? Still there. Oh, I see the problem. Turn that off as well. And now the pipe, of course the pipe leak fixes itself as soon as I do that. Man, I hate these pipes. Alright, there is actually a mod that fixes that, but I don't particularly... This is probably one of those... I think there is a mod for that, actually. Actually, no, there's a mod that guarantees that you get the breakthrough, I think is what it was, but... Alright, let's pop that over there. And we've also, of course, got our factory. Now, we're not going to build our machine parts factory right away here. We are going to want these built here first, so I don't want to wait a little bit before that actually gets done. How is this guy doing in terms of energy? Can I do 2 before I send this guy back? Probably.
Anomaly analyzed.
Alright, so that should just get us a
barren environs
3D
of the red
machining.
planet.
Oh, damn it. There's the ability to build machine. Well, whatever. It's fine. But anyway, yeah, we're going to want to build basically all of these things before we worry about... Oops. Before we worry about that building there. Pipe valves, let's go ahead and get one there. And there. Or 2,
Sector
rather.
Scanned. Anomaly found.
Okay, I think we also go ahead and just do like that or something. It's fine. How are you doing here? Might not make it back, but... Alright, so we can turn that back on. We've got plenty of water now. Got the polymers that we need to upgrade these things. Probably short on machine parts now. Not that bad yet. Alright. Well, let's go ahead and launch this guy back home. At this point in time, we are going to need to bring more people in. The people that we're going to be bringing in now are probably not the best. And this is why I'm saying you don't need to pay too much attention to the quality of the people you're bringing to these planets, because realistically speaking, you're going to be bringing in more than they've got in terms of the best and the brightest. They're going to be bringing some pretty bad, mediocre or low quality people. But anyway, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing for the time being. Like, we've got basically 2 of the 3 factories down. Our goal here, as usual, is to get these things done incrementally. We got the polymer factory down, and it's working, and we were getting a decent amount of polymers out of it right off the bat. But when we send in our next shipment, or we put up our next one, we're not going to have enough people working in anything to actually use the machine parts factory, like, elegantly. So we are going to need to actually send in more people before we can realistically make the best use of our resources here. So yeah, you have to kind of think about each individual step as you're going to make sure that you're actually going to have not only the space, the building, the resources, the energy, but also the manpower to actually effectively make use of it. Yeah, I kind of figured this might happen. It'll be fine, I think. Yeah, that should be fine. So yeah, the people at this point in time is our major problem. I'm going to have to bring in another shipment probably of people, and they're going to be crappy at this point in time. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can bring in people with lots of flaws at some point in time, and it'll still work out okay.
Research
I think we're
complete.
also, getting a decent number of people who have got, flaws and stuff like that, but are still going to be pretty okay. Like, the flaws won't be too crippling. You could also bring them in on the criteria of it being solvable with a sanatorium, but honestly, I don't want to have to build one just yet. Either way, though, that's us getting to the point where we can get our 3 production facilities. We've got this one that we can build right now, and we've purchased one as well. Or sorry, we can get this one built right now, and we've got this one that we can build for free. So, yeah, I think that's just about everything we need to talk about for this particular episode. Hope you found this one enjoyable, and of course, as always, hope to see you guys all next time.